Hi, I'm Maria, and I'm obsessed with makeup. Not because I hate the way I look and I'm trying to hide my flaws, but just because I think it's fun. I love trying out new looks. I think I might even want to be a makeup artist one day. There was this guy at school, Steve, who started complimenting me on my makeup. And not in a pervy way, he just thought of it as art, like I do. And he thought I was a good artist. I couldn't believe it. For the first time, he said something. Steve is graduating soon. He's already 18, and he already has a part-time job as a security guard and plans to go to the police academy. Why would he have time for a sophomore like me? But pretty soon, we were talking every day in the hall between classes. My family doesn't have a ton of money, so I don't get much of an allowance. And I don't have a job yet. I was reading online about a really nice line of makeup that I would think would be great to experiment with. It's made of much better materials than the makeup I have now. And okay, maybe I was thinking that with these new products, I could get Steve to compliment me again. Problem is, this stuff costs hundreds of dollars. One day, I was at a store with my friends, Becca and Molly, and I saw that fancy brand of makeup I'd been eyeing online. I stopped to admire it and to bemoan the fact that I'd never be able to afford it. Just put it in your purse, Becca said. I stared at her, shocked. Are you serious? What? Becca shrugged. Molly and I have done it before. I couldn't believe it. Becca was a good student, and I always thought she followed the rules. Becca stole stuff? Molly said. It's pocket change to the corporations who make this stuff. It's not a huge deal. I mean, they were right. And if Molly and Becca stole stuff, and they were both good people, then maybe shoplifting wasn't such a big deal. After all, it was for a good cause. My future career. And impressing Steve. So, without thinking, I reached out and grabbed some stuff, shoving it at my back. My heart was racing, but as we went toward the front of the store, I felt giddy. I'd actually done it. There in my bag were the products I dreamed of owning. I couldn't wait to get home and try them out. But a voice behind me suddenly called, "Stop." Crap, Becca hissed. Run. She and Molly bolted, but as I started to run, the makeup fell out of my bag and slid across the floor. I froze, horrified. I heard footsteps behind me. I whirled around to find myself face to face with Steve. He was in his security guard uniform, and it dawned on me that I'd never asked him where he worked. He worked here. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to sink into the floor. He seemed embarrassed too. Were you planning to pay for that makeup? He asked. I just say yes, you idiot, I told myself. But I couldn't make myself say the words. He and I both knew the truth. I'm sorry, I burst out instead. Steve looked sort of disgusted. I thought you were better than this. You never seemed like the kind of person who would steal. Tears were stinging my eyes. I've never done it before, I whispered. I couldn't finish the sentence. It seemed so stupid to admit that I was so obsessed with this makeup that I'd done something illegal to get it. I guess Steve felt a little sorry for me because he leaned down to pick up the makeup and said, "Here's the deal. I won't tell anyone this time, but you have to promise never to do it again." I promise, I said quickly. And if I catch you stealing from the store again, I'm definitely going to report you. Okay, I agreed, so relieved that I could have cried. That the fact that he'd left me off with a warning was proof that Steve really did like me. But he wouldn't even look at me. He just said, "Go on, get lost." I hurried home, humiliated, and cried in my room. The next day at school, Steve didn't look at me or speak to me when we passed in the hall. Becca and Molly act like it was all a joke, like, "Remember that time you got caught stealing? How hilarious." But I had lost Steve's respect and friendship. It could have been so much worse. I could have hurt my family, hurt my future chances at a job. It would have been awful. I vowed never to let my so-called friends talk me into something so stupid again. I was feeling so heartbroken for all the humiliation, but mainly for losing Steve. I saw him in school that day, but he pretended like he was on his phone and didn't talk to me. Same thing happened the day after. I was getting too devastated. Why is this happening to me? I really care about Steve and want to at least earn his respect and trust back. I tried to talk to him again, but it didn't work out. A few days after that, I gave up. I have just learned my lesson and decided to start afresh and be a better person. But then someone tapped on my shoulder. I turned my head to find Steve. He smiled at me and said, "Hey Maria, I've missed you." I thought he was joking. But then he hugged me and said that he cannot take this situation any longer and that he wants us to be friends again. He said that he had been thinking a lot about me recently and doesn't want us to end up like awkward strangers. Then he gave me a gift and asked me to open it. I opened it and the only thing I could say was, "Oh my God, Steve." In the bag, I found some of the stuff that I stole the other day. I was shocked. "Steve is the best," he said. "I know you wanted to own them, so here you go. Nothing is more important to me than having you in my life." I was still baffled. I mean, Steve works as a security guard. How can he afford such expensive makeup? Before I had a chance to ask him, he bent down and whispered in my ear, "I sold them for you. Now we're equal. Anyway, I'm starving. Let's grab some food."